Hello, and welcome to the Musica Sacra Project interview series for 2025. If you like this content, would you please like, share, subscribe on YouTube, and follow on social media to indicate that you would like more of these interviews. Secondly, the Musica Sacra Project is entirely run on donations. It is because of people's considerate donations that these interviews and the website are made possible into this year. If you would like to see the project expand and new things to be done, would you please consider donating? You can go to themusicasacraproject.com and find the donation page, and there you can donate, or please email for free international transfer options. But for now, would you please sit back, relax, and enjoy this interview. Hello everyone, and welcome to another interview here at the Musica Sacra Project. Today I have Giorgio Navarini with me. Thank you very much, Giorgio, for being here. Giorgio is the founder of the men's Catholic vocal group Floriani, which is doing incredible things across the USA and also now into Europe. And he is also the founder of Chants for Children, an online year-long course for teaching the rudiments of Gregorian chant. So thank you very much, Giorgio.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So today we have Giorgio here to just talk about being a sacred musician, what that is like in its various aspects, and working for the church, and obviously doing concerts. He's doing incredible things with his friends. But I would like to ask firstly, when did you start music, and what was it like? What got you firstly into just any music?
Yeah, so when I was, I think I was 8 years old, and I was at Mass with my family, and I heard this choir that was actually, they were visiting the parish, and they were singing some beautiful polyphonic music. I can't even remember what it was, but I remember really distinctly, like it moved me at that young age, and even beyond that, let's see here. Probably around the same age. I was we were visiting a Latin mass, and I got to hear the organ being played. And I remember I wasn't very interested in the liturgy, but the music was so powerful and just made this impression on my soul. And so later on, I think I must have been 14, and my parents signed me up for a sacred music sort of youth choir, and it was a choir that did the Latin Mass in Oakland, California. And this little humdrum choir of high schoolers, we were singing some of the greatest music of the Western gamut, and all for Mass. And so having experienced that, it was just really super incredible, and I'm very thankful for it. And that was really the launch pad for me, is being in this choir that was singing for the Latin Mass. And then later on, I would hear certain melodies in my head, so I started writing a lot of the music down. And by the way, do you hear background noise?
Not much.
Okay,
I'm okay. I
great,
hope no one else will.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, so that was a launch pad for me, and it was just a fantastic experience. And it's lasted. I'm almost twice that age now, and so it's lasted this long.
Okay, that's really cool. So it really shows that starting young does help, that having that influence. It's really
Absolutely,
good.
absolutely essential. I think you can start at any age, but being a child and just hearing this music as a child is so formative. And um, I think it's in our age, because the music situation it's very dead. We're doing a disservice to our young, because you don't know the kind of talents that could be lurking, underneath. And you have to present them good music. You have to present them with the opportunities in order to awaken those talents. We could have living Mozarts or Bachs in our midst, but all they're exposed to is what they hear on the radio. So
Yeah, I say this all the time, and just any talent, cultivating it and finding it and then cultivating it is
yeah.
just, it's a rarity now. So Yeah, it's really great, and children's choirs are a good place to start.
Yeah.
More in that space down the track from me.
Yeah.
Um, so then, after you joined that choir, you're 14, and then how long were you in that choir, and did it lead to any other choirs, like, I don't know, in your late teens or college years? Or
Yeah, so I did that choir for all through high school, and then I actually went to St. Michael's Abbey for my final year of high school, which is, if anyone knows St. Michael's Abbey, it's the Norbertine School in Southern California, or it's a Norbertine monastery in Southern California. But they had a boarding school next to it, so I had the opportunity of attending my senior year at the Abbey, and it was really there that I was exposed to chant done really beautifully, and so I had an opportunity to sing that every morning because we were required to go to daily mass, and just being in that monastic setting, I think really formed the chant part of me.
yeah, that would be epic. What a great experience for your teenage years. I'd love to get there one day. Shout out to the Norbertines.
Shout out, yeah.
And so then, after that, what drew you to start Floriani? Where was the call? Why did it happen? And how did it look in the beginning?
Yeah.
And then, let's start with that
Okay.
question.
So,
That's all right.
when I went to Thomas Aquinas College after graduating St. Michael's Abbey, and Thomas Aquinas College is it's a small liberal arts college in Southern California. It's great books and also seminar methods. So there's no lectures, there's no textbooks. Everything is just the original works of authors. And even though the school doesn't have a dedicated music program, there's a lot of music tends to just come up from the students. And so there was one group that was already doing a mixed vocal ensemble, and so I started a group that did barbershop music. And eventually we evolved out of barbershop music and into more sacred, which is actually what I was more trained in. And then an interesting thing happened. We had different priests in the diocese asking us to sing for masses. So one of them was in Santa Barbara, one of them was in LA, and little by little I realized the response of these congregations was, wow, I've never heard such beautiful music at mass before. And we had more and more of that. We did a pilgrimage to Rome where we got to sing in some of the great acoustical spaces of the world. And we saw the same response, which was awe and wonder and just a mystical feeling of, there's something beyond me. And so when I saw that, I realized, this could be this could be a total mission of the church. And so when I started taking that thought more seriously, I introduced it to the guys. By this point, we had already decided to name the group Floriani, which has a story behind it as well. And during COVID, we all got a little. Everyone was kind of in a transition period, and so I proposed to the group that we actually start this. And this proposal was done to only a few of the members who were, some of the more talented and also more interested. And so once we all agreed, hey, we could probably make this take off, we decided to start in Phoenix, Arizona, where we got some funding, and then little by little the word got out there, sacred music revival, and so here we are today.
That's epic. What you were speaking about, you're noticing how people are reacting to the music. That's the exact same experience I had, singing for friends' weddings or just at the cathedral. It was, no one ever came up and said, I didn't like that. It's always like, wow, that was beautiful. That was so transcendental, etc., etc. And then I realized, oh, this is really lacking. And it's almost a niche now, but yeah, everyone loves it and no one's getting to experience it. So it's really interesting you had the same experience. Very different story, but same reaction of people. from the people. And
Yeah,
so it's really great.
I think the really the flock is just really hungering for it, um, and to be honest, sometimes a group of people, people don't know what they want until they see it, or until they hear it. And in this case, I think so many people are being awakened for a desire for the sacred, for the transcendent, for something that just leaves the mundane of the world behind. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then I guess uh, attached to that, like what motivates you to continue to do Floriani? Like if you wake up in the morning, what is that driving factor to do the next project, to get it done?
Yeah.
What's that underlying desire for you?
I think yeah, we have sort of interesting jobs because they're not really jobs. It's like sort of a midway between being, in the workforce uh, and also being a sort of missionary, and also being an apostle missionary. We're traveling throughout the United States. We're giving these concerts that are really informing congregations. Like this is the ancient music of the church. This is what the church has desired her members to be well versed in for ages, and so yeah, it's not a typical job, and I think seeing this desire growing and seeing especially how the children respond to it is really inspiring for me, and that's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, that's great. And also, you guys are not attached to a parish anymore. I believe you started in a parish. Is that right?
Correct. We
And
started.
so now you don't have the weekly schedule, I guess, or monthly schedule.
Yeah, and there's a pro and con to that. The pro meaning we can like actually spread the mission a little more, a little further. The con being there's a real benefit to being in parish life and having a consistent liturgical cycle and being able to sing the chants, and yeah, you lose a little bit of that with all the travel and shifting schedule.
Yeah, yeah. Not just, I guess, in a church, you really feel the liturgical year like turning, where I understand your feeling very much, and the sense of it's almost like bits everywhere, maybe because you've got so many things going on. That's not church life for the church, but not church life. So
Right.
yeah, very good. Um, and then what is the like a challenge you face daily? I guess you were mentioned a con,
Yeah.
but like as a musician, what is like for other, if you're speaking to other sacred musicians, what is a challenge you face daily? What do you see others face? And then how can we overcome that? What could you inspire people to how to manage the challenges that you notice you deal with or others deal with?
Wow, that's a great question. You're asking all the tough questions. I like it.
I was like,
So there's a few directions we could go with that. For directors, let's see, where would I go with that? I'd say for directors, oftentimes the music directors will shoot themselves in the foot because they're not using the correct method, or they're not being properly organized, which eventually really hurts what they're trying to do, because they end up spending a lot more time fixing the symptoms of not having the method or the the origin down. And so that can be from the way they're running rehearsal. It can be from the way they're organizing the music that they give to their musicians. And it could be from the way they're training musicians. And so I'd say you really need to focus on becoming an excellent music director. And there's a lot of things that are entailed in that. For a musician, I'd say there's a similar musicians often shoot themselves in the foot by not learning how to sight read, and so there can be music becomes the written music can become just very scary to them, and really that shouldn't be the case. Like you should feel very comfortable as reading, normal, you know, literal text from a book. We should be as comfortable with that as just seeing a score of music and following along. And being musical literacy is basically the solution to that.
Yeah, yeah. It overcomes pretty much any stress or any trouble factor. So it's very true.
It
In
also
my training,
a
I
lot of
couldn't
frustration
read.
with your other musicians.
Sorry, what's that?
It prevents frustration with your other musicians,
Yes.
and they won't get mad at you if you're doing your job right.
Exactly, exactly. And you can bring together good music very quickly, which is often
Yes.
the case. We don't have funding like the old days, so really have to just be able to create excellence quite quickly
Right.
uh, if you want to survive the job.
And,
So,
and that whole topic is interesting. Funding for music. I think a lot of musicians feel like they need to give the lowest possible cost for their services now. It's like, oh yeah, you need a wedding with an orchestra. I'll do it for $50, or whatever. Maybe that's a little low.
yeah.
I think that is
So,
also changing. I think people are seeing the value of sacred music, and they're not, they're not putting in their lowest number anymore.
yeah, I think in the talking to all my friends and people across the USA, it's very different. But then when you come to Europe, even I think the UK, the funds are tighter. So yeah, the dream job is to be a Catholic musician in the US, which is a whole other topic.
Oh, is it really?
But
Okay.
yeah, but well, from my understanding, but the thing is that just trying to teach people that to have excellence costs and training and time and all the money we put into lessons or etc etc. It's yeah, we need to be paid because we have spent a lot of money in the process to get to this point. So that's a whole whole point of education we want to talk about, but yeah, another day.
Right.
Um, and what this is another question I have. What could you say to young musicians taking an interest in sacred music, or hoping to have a vocation in this? Because I don't like to say a job. I think it's a vocation. But, yeah.
Um, yeah. Let's see here.
What would you say to your younger self?
Younger self. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I would say be diligent in practice, ask for a lot of advice. There's a tendency among musicians to be like, oh, well, I do things my way and I don't get anyone else's like takes or advice. And there's sort of like this fear, like, and it's based off an insecurity, I think. And just like a desire, like, oh, I'm doing things right. And it's like, no, you don't have to be doing things perfectly, and you should always be seeking advice, and just be humble and open. If someone has a different method of singing Gregorian chant, don't don't become oversensitive or overly fearful of it. Just be like super open and happy, because that's going to open up opportunities. It's going to show your character. A, a if you decide to do the closed up route, you're going to be shutting yourself off to a lot of just ways of learning. If say there's a way of singing chant that you don't like, consider it putting a tool under your belt, and it doesn't have to be exactly the thing you're going to train yourself in or going to use as a musician, but you definitely want to have it as a tool under your belt. Hope that kind
Yeah.
of, yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And every experience is a lesson. I think it's kind of what you're saying, and we can store it away and use it in some way or other in the future. So
Right.
it's a really good point. And talking about chant and your style, um, I've noticed, like, we listen to Floriani, there's a variety there. You've got some Eastern influence happening. Um, where do you draw your style for Gregorian chant, or are you sort of flexible? Could you explain to
Yeah.
people?
There's a group style. So the group style is more solemn method with a few of the semiological pneumatic notation applied. And what that is basically just the old way of writing chant pre the year 1000. There's a lot of markings. They look like scribbles. There's a way of applying that to the way you sing chant. And as a solo singer, I use a lot of Eastern influences in just my sound. And partly because I love the Eastern liturgies. I love the richness of Catholic history. And I don't think I think they complement each other really well.
Yeah, yeah, having a touch of it in the West is very lovely.
Thank you.
So yeah. Yeah. And I believe you guys are going to Poland soon.
That's right.
Is that correct? Yeah, you'll. That's where I experienced the East and the West coming together, and it's really, really special because for us in the West, it's sort of a whole other world, but for them, they've had both their whole lives. And, I know a particular priest, his father was Ukrainian Catholic, but he's sort of in the Roman Catholic world, but he knows about that because his father, grew up going to those liturgies, and it's just beautiful to see all the aspects of the church. And I like how, I guess it's you individually, but you're sharing it on the Floriani pages as having a bit of that Eastern style in there as well. So well done.
Thank you. Yeah.
And finally, you have Chants for Children. Is that right? You have an online course.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it, so please, can you explain everything?
Sure. Yeah. So in general, I just aside from my work in Floriani, I've been doing a lot of work with the music education of children, and so one fruit of that is my online course, the chantforchildren.com, and it's a year-long course where kids will learn the chants of the church in a liturgical manner. So when it comes to Advent, they'll be learning, Veni Veni Emmanuel, Rorate Caeli, Creator Alme Siderum, basically all the chants for Advent, even one of the Advent masses. And then for Lent, they're going to be learning Lenten stuff, including, Marian antiphons. So the Alma Redemptoris Mater for Advent, Ave Regina Caelorum for Lent. And what I try and do is teach them the solfege and the theory behind the chant so that they can actually look at the music intelligently and work through it as musicians. And so I have a good number of kids now taking the course. I think it's about 100 families in the United States. It only just started, so it's growing. Eventually I would really like to start a ranked program for parishes and schools throughout the United States where they can begin training kids as young as 8 all the way to 18 on the sacred music of the church, and to do it in an orderly fashion so that they'd be learning a fixed repertoire that that has the best, really, the top-notch music that we all know. There's a lot of music out there, so it's hard to filter through like what is the greatest. Just yesterday, I was listening to a mass from Franz Liszt, and I was like, wow, even though he was a pretty famous composer, he actually didn't do a very good job with his sacred style. But then you look at, Palestrina, Sicut Cervus, like, okay, everyone should know this. Same with Victoria, O Magnum Mysterium, like everyone should know this. So the program would be a progressive, merit-based system that wherein children would learn how to learn certain skills, solfege, learning the keys, and then finally they would be learning how to direct. And so this program will basically ensure that we have another generation of sacred music directors and starting them at a really young age.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. I hope that works out.
So that's probably a big project of mine right now.
Yeah, well, it's it's grassroots. You start small, you build, and God will provide. Yeah. There is a program happening. I haven't seen anywhere else in the world. Jubilate Deo program in Sydney, the Diocese of Sydney, and they're just sort of transmitting through Catholic schools. I think in a very broad way, trying to get it out to all the Catholic schools, not just Central City, etc. Like going a little bit more further out, and then bringing those students together to sing together.
Okay.
And that's the first, and it's really refreshing. And if I think something takes off in the USA in that way, what happens in the US often ripples out to other places. So it's very exciting. Well done.
There's a few things that are going on with chant programs around the world, especially for kids. What I would love to see is, and I think what kids they need is a structured sort of program like the Boy Scouts. The reason the Boy Scouts has become so successful is there are ranks and there's requirements for rank, and so kids feel like, oh, they want tangible accomplishments, and so it's a vast and really difficult project, but I'm excited to start releasing that soon.
Cool. And so when did the online course start? You said it's new, so when did that?
Yeah, so I began it last August.
Okay, really fresh. Wow, you're doing well then. Excellent.
Thank you.
And finally, you also compose, don't you? So is that just basic inspiration and then you sit down and write, or is it more, Floriani needs a piece of music to be written with harmony? How does your compositional method work?
It could be all three. So sometimes I'll just get a melody that pops in my head. It's like, okay, I need to set this to something. Another time, someone will write me a musical text. I have a friend in Montana who she wants to be anonymous, but she writes me beautiful poetry, and I've often commissioned poems for example, St. Anne and some other Christmas poems, and then I'll look at the poem and just work some melodic structures into it, and then layer it with the different harmonies and maybe some polyphonic textures. And then, thirdly, let's see here. Yeah, just it as needed in the Floriani repertoire. So coming up, for example, in Lent, we're going to be singing a version of "Were You There," which is an American spiritual. So I haven't been able to find any good arrangements for it for male voices, and so I have to write one myself.
Okay. Well, looking forward to. I'm sure you guys will record it hopefully, and everyone can hear it. That's good.
Yeah.
And I had another question. I can't remember it. It's okay.
There's actually one thing, if I can mention, this summer, Floriani is hosting its first summer school and immersion program, which is going to be in Southern California. So if anyone is interested in really taking their director musician skills to the next level, we're going to be covering conducting, running rehearsals, all that stuff, but also we're going to be giving a lot of opportunities for just live interaction and direction in the context of the liturgy. So we're going to have a high mass every day in the chapel at Thomas Aquinas. Beautiful campus. It's about an 8-day program, so we're looking for talented individuals who want to attend that.
Okay, so criteria, like, is there an age? Is there a level of study people need to have, etc.? What's the... No
age, just at least a beginning ability in sacred music, and then we'll work with that.
Okay, wow, that's brilliant. Well done. Okay, well, there's lots happening with you and with the Floriani as a group. I know you've got the summer program, you've got pilgrimage, you've got, I'm sure, some concerts coming up. So do head on over and check their website. Yeah. And I think we can wrap up. But thank you so much, Giorgio, for your time.
Yeah,
and just delving into your life as a sacred musician for everyone to hear.
Amazing. Well, God bless you guys. Yeah, thank you so much.